Hello everyone, welcome to StudyIQ. I am Kinshuk Parashar and we are going to start again with the Science and Technology series. In the last 3 sessions, we have discussed about the different components of bio. Okay, we have seen the different topics, like we have started with the basic part of cell. We have talked about tissues also. We have talked about, at the same time, we have talked about the biomolecules which are there. So these 3 sections we have covered. Now in the upcoming sessions, now we are going to talk about the different organ systems of human body. Okay, now these are some of the very important topics for the examination purpose. Okay, if we talk about the respiratory system, if we talk about the circulatory system or the nervous system, they have quite much importance for the examination. So today we are going to start with one such section, one such important portion of it, and that is coming from the central nervous system. So we are going to start this chapter, and under this you can see we have different systems. So in this session, we are going to focus exclusively on the central nervous system or the nervous system in human body. We are going to start from there. Okay. So these are the different systems that we are going to see in upcoming days in the chapter 4 of our Science and Technology book. Okay. So let us start with this one. On the first hand, if we talk about our nervous system, you can see, if we just see a simple thing, there are 2 types of responses in our nervous system. There are 2 types of behavior in our nervous system. One is called as parasympathetic and the second is called as sympathetic. Okay. So basically, whenever some change is there in the environment, whenever there is some change and the body has become alert according to that, body has started reacting against it, then that type of response from the nervous system is what we call as sympathetic part, okay, or sympathetic response. Whereas when the body relaxes back to the normal state, means now it is not in the alert mode, then that part is called as parasympathetic mode. Okay, so we are going to discuss about, we are going to see what are the different changes in there. Okay, first when we talk about the sympathetic mode, you can see when the body is alert, there can be dilation of the pupils. Okay, when the body becomes alert, the pupils might get dilated. Okay, so that is one of the behavior when the body is becoming alert. Whereas on the other side, if the body is trying to relax, if the body is trying to calm down, the response will be the constriction of the pupil. Okay, its dilation will relax. Okay, now there will be constriction of the pupil size. Okay, so the pupil size will be reducing. Okay, you can see here when there is dilation, you can see that the size of the pupil has increased. Okay, so that is a sympathetic response of the body. Okay, then saliva inhibition. Okay, saliva is inhibited again in case of the sympathetic behavior or sympathetic response, whereas there is a stimulation of the saliva in case of returning back to the normal. Okay, so when we are trying to return back to normal, when the nervous system is trying to calm the body, relax the body, then there is going to be the stimulation of saliva, whereas in case of alertness, in that case there will be inhibition of the saliva. Okay, then you can see another one, the airways. Now the airways will become dilated. Okay, in order to acquire more and more amount of oxygen from the outside. You can see one more thing, there would also be the fast heartbeat. Okay, the heartbeat will become at higher level, it will increase. Okay, you might have seen this normal thing. Whenever something new is coming up or something exciting is coming up, or even some challenging task is coming up, like suppose you, let us say you are checking your result, or you are checking some marks in some test which you have given, you'll find that your heartbeat increases. Okay, when you have something happening in front of you, like suppose you are watching a cricket match, when you have become excited, at that time also you'll find that the heart will become faster. Okay, the airways become dilated. So that is one of the sympathetic response of the body. Okay, on the other hand, you can see when the body is trying to calm down, in that case what would happen, that the air will become narrow, it will become constricted, the heart will become slower, it becomes normal again. Okay, So that is again a parasympathetic behavior or a parasympathetic response. Here we are having the sympathetic response. Okay. When we again talk about one thing, you can see when the body is alert, when the body is trying to alert towards any such change in the environment, the digestion process is inhibited. Okay. Whereas in case of returning back to the normal, the digestion process is again started, it is again stimulated. Okay. So that is also one part of the sympathetic and parasympathetic behavior. Okay. Then if we talk about the liver is going to release glucose, whereas in the case of sympathetic behavior, the gallbladder, it will be stimulated. Okay. Now, in the case of intestine, there is inhibition, whereas again intestine will be, again you can say that, stimulated. Okay. Now, if we talk about the adrenal gland, okay, now this is one of the important part. Here we can see that epinephrine, norepinephrine, these are getting released during the sympathetic behavior, whereas in this case there is no such change. Okay, bladder is constricted, and even the reproductive system, there is increase in blood flow. But on this side, the bladder relaxes and the reproductive system experiences a decrease in blood flow. Okay, so basically in both these behaviors, you will find that there is a lot of change which is going on in our body. When the body is trying to be alert, we're trying to respond against certain changes in the environment, that is what we call as sympathetic behavior. Whereas when the body is trying to return back to the normal, when it is trying to relax back, then that type of behavior is called as parasympathetic behavior. Okay. Now, you can see we are going to discuss about our body system or our nervous system, and there are two important parts of it. One is called as the central nervous system, and the second is called as the peripheral nervous system. Okay. Now, if we talk about the central nervous system, it consists of two very important parts. Okay. One is the brain, and the second one is the spinal cord. Okay. So brain and spinal cord, they are basically the two major parts of the central nervous system, and all other related aspects like the nerves which are there distributed throughout the body, okay, they are called as peripheral nervous system. So whatever nervous tissues or nervous cells are outside the brain and the spinal cord, they are considered part of the peripheral nervous system. Okay. So we will see that what role they are performing, what role is being performed by the brain or the spinal cord, and also we will see the function of the peripheral nervous system. Okay. Now, see here. Okay. Now, if we talk about this brain, what exactly, or if we talk about the nervous system, what exactly are they doing? Basically, see, each and every activity in our body, okay, each and every activity which is there, sometimes like suppose if I am speaking or you are listening, okay, so this is also something which is again being coordinated or again being done with the help of the brain. Okay, they are doing it. Now you can see that you can do multitasking at the same time. When you are listening to this session, when you are watching this session, you are doing so many things at the same time. Maybe you are watching it. So watching is one activity. You are listening to the voice. That is another activity. Okay. Your brain is processing it. At the same time, you will find that you are also breathing. Your heartbeat is going on. Digestion process is going on. You can also see that all other processes of body are simultaneously happening. Okay. So now all these activities, multiple organ coordination, multiple activities coordination, that is being done by our brain system or the nervous system. Okay. Now see, so this brain is also the messaging center. It is responsible for sending and receiving the information from all the different parts of the body. Okay. This is like giving the instructions, also receiving the responses, modifying the processes, and all other things which are happening. Basically, it is that command center of our body. Whatever is happening, even when your heart is beating, it is being controlled by the brain itself. When you are thinking something, it is being done by brain. One more thing, many a times people generally say this, that we are thinking it from the heart. but you cannot think from the heart. Even that emotional feeling which you are having, that is also part of the brain itself. It's not that you can think from heart, or you can generally we say that we love someone from heart. No, it is not possible. Heart is a muscular pump. It has one simple function of pumping the blood. Okay, but all these emotions and each and everything, it is coming from the brain only. Okay, so that is one important part. Okay, so this nervous system, it is controlling the body's interaction with the entire environment. Okay, whatever activity is being done, all other things. Okay, like if we talk about the taste, touch, sight, hearing, smell, all these things, they are being done by the nervous system itself. Okay, now if we talk about the human nervous system, as I have already told you, we are having two parts here. One is the central neural system, okay, and the second one is the peripheral neural system. Okay, so central neural system and peripheral neural system. If we talk about even the CNS, in the CNS, I told you there are two important parts. One is the brain, the second is the spinal cord. Okay, so we have two important parts here, brain and the spinal cord. Okay, now this brain has been called as the command and control system of the entire body. Each and everything which is happening in the body is under the control and command of the brain. Okay, even when your heart is beating, of course we don't have the control over it, but our brain is having control over it. Okay, we have certain portions of brain which we say that it can perform voluntary action. Like suppose if I am moving my hand, if I am speaking, if you are listening, if you are watching, that is your voluntary action, means you have decided to do it. But then there are certain involuntary actions also which is being coordinated by the brain, that is not in your control, but that is in the control of the brain. Okay, so that is also lying under the brain part. That's why it has been called as the command and control system. Okay, now see this if we talk about the body's equilibrium, okay, the equilibrium in the body, the homeostasis in the body, then if we talk about the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the thermoregulation, means you can see we have this ability to regulate our temperature. Even when the temperature outside the environment is 50 degrees Celsius, then also our body temperature is going to be 37 degrees Celsius. When the temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, then also, suppose the environmental temperature is 10 degrees Celsius, then also our body will have the temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. When the outside temperature is 50 degrees Celsius, then also our body temperature will be 37 degrees Celsius. So this thermoregulation is again coming under the part of the brain. Okay, so brain is regulating that part also. The hunger and the thirst, that feeling of hunger or the thirst, it is again being controlled by the brain itself. Okay, then the various endocrine glands which are there, okay, whether it is hypothalamus gland, the pituitary glands, the pancreatic gland, or any other part of it, it is again being coordinated or controlled by the brain itself. Okay, then the different things which you are watching or hearing or speech, the memory, the intelligence which is there, okay, the skill of solving the problems, all these things are part of our brain. Now think about this, think about our brain, what we are doing from it. Having some simple functions like moving the hands and all, to solving various complex challenges which are there. The complex challenges may be from the mathematics, it can be from physics, it can be from chemistry, it can be from society. It can be planning a mission like Chandrayaan. It can be planning like Mangalyaan. So all these complex ideas, all these complex problems which are there, all these things are part of the human brain which is there. Okay, the human brain is behind all these things. Okay, now the thinking and the emotions, they are also taking part here. So emotion is not from anywhere else. Emotion is also a part of the brain itself. Okay, so it's not that emotion is coming from heart. Emotion is again under the control of brain only. Okay, now say this. So that was our central nervous system. That's what it is doing. We will see that in detail. We will see its different part. We will see that what are the portions of the brain. Okay, But before that, just look at the peripheral nervous system, what they are doing. Basically, when we first look at that, they are a major connective link. They are a major collective link between the central nervous system and the different organs of the body. Our hands, our skin, okay, the different organs of the body, they are all connected to the brain through the peripheral nervous system. The nerve cells which are there, they are connecting it to the brain. Okay, of course, via the spinal cord and all. But then, yes, it is connecting link between the organs and the body. Okay, organs and the brain. Then on the other hand, you can see it is also carrying the sensory and the motor information. Okay, if we are sensing something, if we are like touching something, if we are knowing about that, if we are watching something, if we are smelling something, if we are tasting something, now all these activities, all these sensory informations are being carried from the sensory organs to the brain, and from the brain to the sensory organs by the help of these peripheral network. Okay, the peripheral neural system. Like suppose if we are touching certain thing which is hot, we immediately pull our hand. So the peripheral neural network or the peripheral neural system is enabling us to send that information from the sensory organs to the brain or the central nervous system or the central neural system, and then get the information from there to our sensory organs. That's what we have to do. Simultaneously, our limbs are activated. We pull our hand immediately. Okay, so it has that function of providing that connectivity. Okay, it is carrying the sensory and the motor information from the central nervous system to the body and vice versa. Okay, then this is allowing the brain to send the information to the different part of the body. Okay, like what glands are to be secreted, what hormones are to be secreted, what activities are to be done. Okay, how the heart has to process, how the digestive system has to work, what they have to do. Okay, what the liver has to do. All these information is being sent by the brain to the different part of the body. Okay, then at the same time, the involuntary body functions, the breathing, the heart, all these things are being coordinated by the help of peripheral network system. Okay, the peripheral neural system, they are very much important for the functioning of these involuntary organs. The heart, the lungs which is there, they are all under the control, or they are all functioning with the help of peripheral neural system. Okay, so this is the main role of peripheral neural system. Now, let us see another aspect of it, that what exactly we mean when we say coordination. Okay, now think about it. Like suppose if you are working somewhere, you know that in completing one single project or in running one single task, you have to see multiple things which is going on. Suppose that you have a wedding at your home. Now you know that wedding is such an event which requires multiple works in multiple domains. You may have to contact with the persons engaged in catering. You may have to contact the people who are there for decoration, the persons who are there for attending the guest. So there is a long list of things. Now the coordination of all these things become quite hectic. It becomes quite difficult. So now think about our body. Okay, think about our body. When you are walking, your legs are moving in a sync. Your legs are moving in a sync. Okay. When you are even writing, when you are writing something, your memory, the things which you are giving, instruction which you are giving to your hand, that okay, like suppose you have to write, let us say you have to write anything. Then that instruction is going to your hand, that in what manner you have to move. You are thinking here, and the body is moving accordingly. And simultaneously, you are speaking also. Okay. So suppose that you are sitting in a class, you are writing something. Like let us say you are taking the notes. So while you are taking the notes, you are also listening to what the faculty is telling you. You might also be thinking about it. You might also be trying to understand it. Okay. You might be doing all other activities simultaneously, like you are breathing at that time. Your heartbeat is going on that time. Okay. So all these activities are there. When you are swimming, when you have learned that art of swimming, and when you are swimming in any swimming pool or any pond or river, the entire body is in coordination. When you are running, when you are jogging, think about it, how the different part of body comes in coordination with each other. When you are jogging, your hands and legs both are moving. So how it is happening? This is the part of coordination which is being done by the nervous system of our body. This is what they are doing. And one of the key organs which is there is, of course, the human brain. Okay. Now this human brain is being protected by the skull. The skull is protecting it. It is giving that, you can say, the protection to our body from any external shock, protection to our brain from any external shock, okay, any external injury. Okay. Now, if we talk about our brain, it can be divided into three major portions: the forebrain, the midbrain, and the hindbrain. Okay. So three major portions are there: forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. Okay. So now see here, this is the part of the forebrain, and here we have three very important things. Okay. Here we have three very important things. One is being the cerebrum. Then we have thalamus. And then we also have hypothalamus. Okay. So three important parts are there in case of our forebrain. There is one simple thing: cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay. Now, if we talk about them, this cerebrum, thalamus, and hypothalamus. Okay. See, the cerebrum part which is there, okay, basically it is responsible for all your voluntary actions. Okay. When you are thinking something, when you are solving certain things, when you are trying to memorize certain things, your intelligence, your skill, your memory, okay, your emotions, your behavior, okay, all these things are part of your forebrain. Okay. And it is being done by the cerebrum. Okay. So cerebrum is a very important organ which is deciding most of your activities like this. Most of the voluntary activities which are there, they are being coordinated by the cerebrum. Okay. Now, if we talk about the thalamus, the second important part, basically it is a coordinating center for the sensory and motor signaling. Okay. So it is coordinating. It is like when the information is going to the cerebrum, okay, before that it is helping in processing it. So thalamus is helping in coordinating the sensory and the motor signals. Okay. Then if we talk about the hypothalamus, now see, this is a very important part. It is controlling the body temperature. The thermoregulation is part of this hypothalamus. It is also responsible for the urge of eating, the hunger and the thirst which is there. That is also part of the hypothalamus process. Okay. Now, there is one more thing. Along with the hypothalamus, there is also a limbic lobe or limbic system. Now, this limbic system is basically involved in the regulation of the sexual behavior, the expression of emotional reaction, okay, like the excitement, the pleasure, the rage, all these things are being displayed by the limbic system. And limbic system is what? Hypothalamus along with some deeper part of our brain, that is the limbic system. Okay. And they are responsible for the sexual behavior. They are responsible for the expression of the people. Okay. So overall, you can see this entire forebrain is basically deciding a number of things. Your voluntary actions, how you are behaving, okay, how your the sexual expressions which are there, the excitement, okay, the fear, the happiness, the rage, all these things are being part of the forebrain. Okay. It is also controlling the body temperature. It is also controlling that urge of thirst or that food, hunger. That is also being controlled by the part of the forebrain. The cerebrum which is there. Now you know that this cerebrum plays a very important role in deciding your skills, okay, the voluntary actions which you are doing, okay, the knowledge which you are having or the use of the knowledge which you are doing, okay, all these things are part of the cerebrum. Okay. If we talk about the second important part, the midbrain. Now, this midbrain is basically located between the thalamus or the hypothalamus and the pons of the hindbrain. If we talk about the role of the midbrain, it has a very important role of maintaining the equilibrium in the body. Okay, maintaining an equilibrium means maintaining that posture of the body. Okay, when we are walking, when we are moving our legs, when we are moving our hands, okay, this all has to be balanced. So balancing the body, balancing of the body, that is a very much important part of our midbrain. Okay, when we are walking and we are not falling off, it is again due to the midbrain. Okay, so coordinating the actions of our voluntary muscles, the voluntary muscles which are there, that is part of our midbrain. Okay, so our muscles movement, that is being largely controlled by the midbrain. Now comes a very important part of the brain, the hindbrain. Okay, if we talk about this, this is a very much sensitive part of our brain. Many a times you might have seen that in our common parlance, in our common words, we say that it is the smaller brain of our body, of our head. But see, this is a smaller part of our brain. It is performing very much important functions. Okay, basically here you are having a very important thing, the medulla. Okay, this medulla is responsible for the respiration process. You know, respiration is the process in which the energy is being created in the body. Okay, so this respiration process is being controlled by the medulla. Okay, then we are also having this cardiovascular reflexes, the gastric secretions, all those involuntary actions which we are having inside the body, that is being done by the medulla. Okay, then you can see this, they are having three important parts. Basically, we are having the pons, the medulla oblongata. Okay, and they are forming the brain stem together. Okay, this is the part which is connected to the pons are the parts which are connected to the spinal cord. Okay, they are being connected with the spinal cord, and from there the information is going in all the different part of the body. So if we look at this hindbrain, it has the major role in controlling the involuntary actions of the body. Okay, the involuntary actions, okay, like the heartbeat, the respiration, digestion, and all other things, they are being part of the hindbrain. And that's why it is said that suppose if someone has been hurt, if someone has been injured from the back side of the brain, then the chances of death, that is quite much high. Now we can understand why it is higher. The involuntary action, suppose if the hindbrain is impacted, there is going to be a major impact on the functioning of the involuntary organs, like the heartbeat, the respiration, the breathing, the digestion, the circulation of the blood. Okay, now the circulation of blood is again due to the contraction and relaxation in the arteries. Okay, even it is being pumped by the heart. Now you know that all these things, if they cease to exist, the person cannot survive. Okay, so for that person, if someone is hit from the backside, there are higher chances of death. Okay, and that's why it is a very much sensitive organ of our body. Okay, now see, there is another part, and that another part is the spinal cord. Now consider the spinal cord as the super highway. Basically, you know that brain has to coordinate with all the different parts of the body. Now there is one structure which is passing from the brain to the end portions of our backbone. Okay, there is a vertebral column which is basically a hollow column, and through that the spinal cords are passing. Now these spinal cords are basically a highway. Now, let us understand this by an example. Suppose you have to move from Delhi to Lucknow. Suppose you have to move from Delhi to Lucknow. Okay. Now you have two options. You can choose one highway which is connecting Delhi to Lucknow, or you can go through multiple district roads. You can go through multiple districts or rural roads. Okay. And when you are going through the rural roads or district roads, you know that you will take a very much longer route. You will take long time in order to reach to Lucknow. Okay. But when you are when you are having a highway connecting Delhi to Lucknow, the time of travel will be greatly reduced. Now think about this. Suppose that if there is, let us say, if you have touched something hot, if you are walking without any shoes or slippers, and you have touched your feet with something hot, okay, you have moved your feet on something hot surface. So then you have to immediately pull your legs in order to safeguard your skin. Okay. But suppose that if there was no such a spinal cord, the movement of that message from the legs to the brain would have taken some time. And even the brain will respond to the sensory organ that, okay, you have to pull the legs. The coordination between the muscles, between the skin, between the action, it would have been delayed. Okay. So that might have burned our legs, that might have burned our skin. Okay. So we are having this super highway which helps in immediate transfer of the signals from brain to other parts of the body. So the different nerves which are there, you might have seen in the previous image, the different nerves which are there, they are connected with this spinal cord. This line, this spinal cord is coming here and they are connected with this spinal cord basically. They are all not coming directly from the brain. Of course, some part of it is connected from brain, but the majority of it is connected via the spinal cord. Okay. So this is that highway which is going from the brain to the end of the backbone, and from this spinal cord all the other nerves are also getting connected. Okay, so it helps in quick exchange of the information. Okay, so that is the role of a spinal cord in our body, acting like a kind of superhighway. Okay, it is connecting the brain at the medulla oblongata and runs down the vertebral column. It is passing through that hollow column, okay, and it is connecting all the different nerves of the body with the brain. Now you have understood that what this spinal cord is working basically for. This is basically trying to ensure the smooth functioning of the body. Okay. Then we have another thing that is called as ganglia. Okay. Now this is simply a collection of different nerve cells. The collection of different nerve cells which are found outside the body and the spinal cord, they have been called as ganglia. Okay. Now see, they are also part of the peripheral nervous system, and what they are doing, they play the role of nerve signal relay stations, that from these points, from these areas, from these locations, the signal is being transferred. Okay. So that is our vertebral cord, that is our spinal cord and ganglia. Now, let us talk about some of the sensory organs which are also there. Let us see what is the role of them. We have the eye here. Now, if you look at the eye portion, you might be familiar with some of these concepts. Like we have the iris. Okay. This iris is the colored part of our eye. Okay. Then we are having the ciliary muscle here. Ciliary muscle here. Now, this ciliary muscle is basically responsible for adjusting the lens of the eye. Okay, I have asked you one question in the last session: which body part is not having direct supply of oxygen? And that body part is basically cornea. Cornea is one such part of our body which is having no such supply of oxygen. Sorry, no such supply of blood cells. Okay, it is not getting the blood directly here. It is not having the blood vessels. That's why it is able to take the oxygen directly from the atmosphere. This cornea portion of our body is taking the oxygen directly from the atmosphere. That's why if the people are sleeping for a longer period of time, you will find that their eyes might have swelled. So this swelling in the eye is just basically because the body or the cornea is trying to get more oxygen there. When we are closing our eyelids, when we are closing our eyes, the supply of oxygen to this cornea is getting reduced. Okay. And this needs oxygen directly from the atmosphere in order to perform the respiration process. Okay. So this is one important part. Now, there is one part of this is the entire structure is retina. Okay. And there is one part, blind spot. So basically this blind spot is the portion where if the image is forming here, if any image is formed at this spot, we will not be able to see that object. Okay. So blind spot is that portion on the retina where if the image is getting formed, we will not be able to see anything. Okay. So that is some basic thing about our eye. Okay. Now if we talk about our eye, see, we are having some ganglion cells, the bipolar cells and photoreceptor cells in our eye. Okay. Here you will find that we have certain daylight vision and color visions, and they are being done by cones and rods. Okay, cones and rods. There are two important cells in our eye. One is cones, another is rod. Okay. So you can see here, cone means it is for the color part. So C for cones, C for color. Okay. So it is trying to help us to identify the color of the object. Whereas rod cells which are there, they are basically helping us to distinguish between the intensity of the light. Okay. So it is basically telling us about the intensity of the light. Okay. So that is the role of the cone cell and the rod cell inside our eye. Now, the photoreceptor cells, they are basically not present in the region of this area where the optic nerve is connecting. At that portion, the photoreceptor cells are absent, and due to which it is called as blind spot. Okay. Now, if we talk about the nose is having this olfactory nerve. Okay. And basically, here we are having a cranial nerve 1. Here we are having a cranial nerve 1, and see, this cranial nerve 1, it is the shortest sensory nerve in our body. Okay, this cranial nerve, we are talking about some of the nerves in body, and here we are having the cranial nerve 1, which is the shortest nerve in our body. Basically, it is starting in the brain and it ends in the upper and inside part of the nose. So it is a very small nerve. Okay, we have talked about nerve cells or neuron cells earlier also. Sometimes its length can be extending even up to 1 meter in length. Okay, so see, this CN1, it is basically helping us to detect the scent or the odor or the smell of the different objects which are there. So when we are able to detect all these things, it is because of cranial nerve 1 that is present inside the nose of our body. It is the shortest nerve in the body. Then there is one thing, reflex action. You might be aware about this thing, when we are touching something, when we are touching something hot, we immediately pull our hands from there. If you have accidentally put your hand on something which is burning, you immediately pull that thing. You immediately pull your hand or your leg. So this is part of the reflex action. Okay, this is part of the reflex action. Okay, now see. The central nervous system, which is having this brain and the spinal cord. Okay, so they along with the peripheral nervous system are helping to control this reflex action. Okay, now see, in the peripheral nervous system, we have one part which is called as autonomic nervous system. The peripheral nervous system which is there, it is having one part which is called as autonomic nervous system. And this autonomic nervous system, it is controlling functions of certain things like heart, smooth muscles or glands of the body. Whereas there is another part which is called as somatic nervous system, and this is responsible for sending the signals from the central nervous system to the skeletal muscles to the immediate voluntary movements. Okay, so the somatic nervous systems, they are basically responsible also for doing of this reflex action. Okay, and then ganglia, we have also discussed, they are part of the nervous cells which are accumulated there. They are working as relay stations of the nerve. Okay, so that is the part of the reflex action, that is the part of our brain system. Okay, so here we have what you have to majorly focus on. You have to identify a few things. The first important thing, the different parts of our brain. Parts of our brain and their function. This is one thing which you must keep in mind, that what are the different parts of our brain and what is their function. Okay, you should also be aware about the spinal cord. What is the main role of it? The spinal cord. From where it is starting? It is starting from the medulla oblongata and passes through the vertebral column, okay, to the end of the backbone. Okay. Then, along with that, you can also see that we have this peripheral nervous system. It is having two-part autonomic nervous system or autonomic system and then somatic nervous system. The autonomic system is controlling the functions of the voluntary, involuntary organs like heart and all. Whereas the somatic nervous system, it is helping in transfer of the signals from the brain to the different part of the body or from different part of the body to the brain. So they are the two parts of the peripheral nervous system. Okay. So these are the important portions that you have to keep in mind from this chapter. Okay. In the next session, we would be talking about another important system of the body. Okay. In this chapter 4, which we are discussing of our science and technology book, we are going to see some of the major important organ systems of our body, and we will see that what is there for us for the examination purpose. Okay. So thank you very much. All the best. Thank you.